So round 5 of the Rugby Championship kicks off this weekend. South Africa hosting Argentina in what promises to be, just like the rest of the Rugby Championship, a very entertaining game. And in this preview, we'll be looking through at the key players, the lineups, as well as a prediction at the end for I think will win this matchup. But if you are new to the channel, of course, be sure to hit that subscribe button. We are going to be doing the commentary this weekend for the matchup too, so be sure to check that out. But jumping straight into the side, Rassie Erasmus, as normal, announcing his side particularly early in the week. And he has gone with a bit similar to what we saw up against the All Blacks, with a few injury changes and also a couple other players getting the chance here as well. But in the starting side, it will be Oxenchair alongside Malcolm Marx and also Thomas du Toit starting in as the number 3. So the identical front row to what we saw up against New Zealand. Now Malcolm Marx, he's going to have his hands full for this contest, going head-to-head with Julian Montoya, so that is always entertaining when the two veterans go up against each other. In the locking duo will be Eben Etzebeth starting in as the number 4, that is rather than Lud Diacha, who did pick up an injury up against New Zealand, and Ruan Nokia, he will keep his spot starting in as the 5. In the loose forward trio, the captain, Seo Kolisi, as the 6, Pieter-Steph du Toit starting in at number 7, and then number 8, it is Jasper Wiese. So overall, that physicality of Pieter-Steph du Toit and also Wiese will come in extremely handy. Kolisi, his leadership, getting this team steered in the right direction. It is always awesome to watch. And I do think in this type of game up against Argentina, when the Rugby Championship is fully on the line, that is when you need a good leader, and that is exactly what Kolisi does bring to the team. In the 19 combination, there are no changes compared to the last Springboks match. Kobus Reinach slots in as the halfback, and number 10, it is Sasha Feinberg. Ngumezulu, he did take a head knock up against New Zealand, but the match was long enough ago that he is now recovered and will be starting in as first 5 for this game. So no Hondre Pollard either for this matchup. Instead, it will be Mani Libok making his way off of the bench. In the midfield combo, we do see a change compared to last match. Damian Valimza was playing the 12, but he shifts to 15, and that opens up the door for Damien Dialendi to slot into inside centre. Kanan Moody, he will keep a spot on the outside centre role, so no Jesse Creel for this match either. Ethan Hooker out on the left wing, Cheslin Colby out on the right, and Damian Valimza, he slots in as the number 15. It seemed like Ethan Hooker, as the match wore on up against the All Blacks, that's actually when he started to get a little bit stronger, found his confidence, and really did give the All Blacks a bit of a headache out on that left wing side. But that is the starting lineup. It is important to note a 5-3 split here for South Africa, whereas Los Pumas, they have gone with the 6-2. A little bit more grunt in the 4-pack for later on in the contest, although Andre Esterhuizen is off the bench for South Africa, so that can actually count as a 6-2 split depending on where he plays. But this Pumas side, it is looking strong as well. Not a huge amount of changes compared to what we saw up against the Australians, just some fine-tuning, trying to get the combinations right for this contest. In the front row, it is Mako Vivas alongside Julian Montoya, and number 3, it is Joel Scalavi. So Montoya, he will be captaining this Argentinian side. Vivas and Scalavi, they've been solid throughout the rest of the season, but they will have to be on their A game going up against Oxenchair as well as Thomas du Toit. In the locking duo, it is Franco Molina as the number 4, with Lucas Paulos slotting in as the 5. So there is a little bit of a switch there for the Argentinians in this match. Number 6, Pablo Matera, who will be the vice-captain, him up against Kolisi in the 6 jerseys will be very entertaining. Marcos Crema as the 7, and then number 8, it is Joaquin Oviedo. So we don't actually see Juan Matan Gonzalez in the starting side. Instead, he will be making his way off the bench as a part of that Argentinian 6-2. In the 19 combination, it is Gonzalo Garcia alongside Santiago Herreras as the number 10. I know that some people were a little bit surprised not to see Thomas Albanoz in the starting team, but he is still off the bench, and this is still a very dangerous 19 combination for Los Pumas. Here in the midfield, it will be Santiago Chocobarez as the number 12, with Lucio Cinti on his outside at 13. Mateo Carreras keeps his spot on the right wing, so he is marking up with Cheslin Colby for this matchup. Number 14, Rodrigo Isgro, and number 15, it is Juan Cruz Malia, the other vice-captain for Argentina. But those are the starting lineups for these two sides. Moving on to the key head-to-head battles out there on the field. First one, you don't have to look too far through the starting lineups. It's to do with the hookers, Malcolm Marx versus Julian Montoya. I do feel like the lineouts for both of these teams. It will be extremely crucial for this match in Durban. If they're getting it wrong, that is where the counter-attack for both sides could really come into the equation, but Marks is normally solid. William Montoya, when he finds a rhythm, you just can't seem to break his concentration, and that is what Argentina need from this game. Both men also offering the ability to get a steal and a breakdown if necessary, so two very handy players to have wearing the number 2 jersey for this contest. Moving on to the next head-to-head, I am going to go with Cheslin Colby up against Mateo Carreras. I mentioned about how those two are facing off and they both have pure speed. They also both pack a punch much more than their weights. They aren't the biggest players out on that wing, but they will certainly play like it out on the field. And Cheslin's coming off a great game. Up against the All Blacks, Mateo Carreras, he has had highlight reel moments throughout this Rugby Championship already, and I do think whoever gets the better of that one, their backline is probably going to be scoring more tries throughout this matchup, and I know that they're out on the wing, so theoretically the ball has to go through quite a few hands to get to them in the first place, but that is when these midfield combinations, Chocobares alongside Sinti, as well as Dialendi and Moody, becomes so crucial for the two sides as well. And moving on to the last head-to-head, I just think it's going to be that 15 jersey, Damian Valimza versus Juan Cruz Malia. Now, Valimza played an outstanding game up against New Zealand from the number 12 jersey in the last contest. Juan Cruz Malia, he has consistently been playing 15 throughout this Rugby Championship, but Valimza, if it's based off current form, you would have to give him the advantage. Heading into this matchup, it has also taken place in South Africa. The altitude is not a factor, which is great news for these two sides, but Damian Valimza, I think he proved a lot of people wrong in that last contest. Some were concerned about his defense, and that might be something that is tested a little bit more from that 15 jersey rather than 12. But I also think from the tackles that he did make in his most recent game, he should be completely fine. And Juan Cruz Malia, of course, both men will have to go up for a fair share of high balls. It's what to expect when these two sides play, because they can't just run for the 80 minutes as much as people would love to see it. There will be those gaps, and that is where that counter-attack for both sides in the back threes will be so vital throughout the game as well. But those are the key players, ladies and gentlemen. A few interesting stats about these two sides. Argentina have not won very often up against the South Africans. Of the last 10 matches, South Africa have won 9. The last win for Argentina was actually a part of last year's Rugby Championship, the narrow victory in Argentina. But when it comes to South Africa and Los Pumas playing, they have not won since 2015. The score in that game, 37 points to 25. But of the 19 games in South Africa, Argentina have only managed to win 1. Every other game, all 18, have been won by the Springboks. So they will come into this game with a bit of confidence, but also at the same time, they will know how dangerous this Argentinian side can be. When they are on their A game, they almost look unbeatable. When they're having an off day, then most sides will beat them badly. So it's just very hard to tell what Pumas side will be showing up for this match. With the fact that the Rugby Championship is still anyone's for the taking, I do think that benefits Argentina here. The fact that they're not playing at home next week and instead playing in England for their leg of the Rugby Championship, I would say adds a bit more fuel and a bit more motivation, because if they win this game heading into neutral territory, you'd have to say it's a bit more 50-50 if they were in Argentina like they were for the win last year. Of course, that would boost the confidence even more. But for the South Africans, anywhere that you play them around the world, they are always going to be tough, and when it's in their own backyard, that adds a little bit more of a challenge to the contest as well. But if I had to give a score prediction for this game, once again, very tricky to do because there is the unpredictability factor of the Pumas. But the last time that these two sides played, South Africa got their biggest ever winning margin over the Argentines, 48 points to 7. So that has to play a little bit of a factor in the mind for the Pumas heading into this contest. I think that this young, exciting backline of South Africa, if it can gel again, it all comes down to how Damian Dialendi goes in that number 12 jersey too, whether or not he can keep up with the pace of the side, which is an absolutely crazy thing to say, seeing as Damian Dialendi, he has been one of the best 12s, if not the best 12 in the world for quite some time. So it will be interesting to see if he does fit into Rassi's game style heading into this contest, but overall, I think it's going to be a great one. It is in Durban, so South Africa have a pretty decent record there as of late, just the one loss to Ireland across their last 5, so I'm going to go with South Africa to win, and I'm going to say they win it 36 points to 23. Now, that may be a little bit harsh on Argentina, but once again, when you don't know whether or not you're going to get the world-class Pumas or a side that sometimes just don't quite look on the same page, it's safe to say around that mid-20s mark for the Argentines. Although of those last 10 games that Argentina have played up against South Africa, they have only actually got more than 21 points once. And that was in their victory up against the Springboks. So, if they get more than 21, they might be in with a really good shot of being able to win this contest. But the safe choice here be South Africa to get the win. But nonetheless, I do thank you all very much for tuning into this preview. We are going to be live doing the commentary like I mentioned. It is a late afternoon kickoff for you guys in South Africa. Should be an outstanding game. And also by that stage, we'll know who won between New Zealand and Australia. So know exactly how the table sits heading into the matchup. But thank you all very much for watching. If you did enjoy, be sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. And I will see you all for the next one.